Hey everyone, so I'm back with a book review that is not a trashy romance novel. I am so proud of myself. This is, I think, my second review without a trashy romance novel. But whatever. Today I'm going to be talking about The Handmaid's Tale. And as you guys know, if you use the internet, I'm sure it's become a really popular TV show on Hulu. And this book has been around forever, and obviously with the current issues in the political climate right now, it's just super, fitting and timely. But for those of you that don't know about The Handmaid's Tale, I will try to give a review as spoiler-free as possible for it. I haven't watched the TV show yet. That video will come later, and this video will obviously be linked in that one. But I'm really hoping to actually start it this weekend, but who knows, because also I currently just started The Magicians as well, and I'm trying to work on stuff for that. But anyway, so Handmaid's Tale. Basically, it is telling the story of a woman who really, not her name, but she goes by Offred, words of Fred, basically. So she is a handmaid where it's not even post-apocalyptic. I don't know what to call it because it doesn't imply it is, but it doesn't imply, this big, the world is over, nuclear warfare type bullshit. But basically, it's all these laws have been put into place and women are very stifled now. So those women that are able to bear children become handmaids and go and, work for families of, well-to-do people to help reproduce, basically, the wives that are barren. So that's kind of big plot. So Offred is one of those handmaids, and obviously her person is Fred. He's a commander. His wife Serena Joy was not a preacher. She would have been on the televangelist type stuff. That's what it seems to imply. And what's so interesting about Handmaid's Tale is kind of how it's told, because it's very much like Offred telling her current story and then slips into kind of reveries of the past. And there's no real transition, so sometimes, unfortunately, that does get a little fucky, because you kind of go, wait, where am I? What year is it? Are we in the past? Are we in the present? But you get stories of her before all the laws came into place, and, how she was when she was, a free woman, basically. Stories of when she's first at, the training facility to be a handmaid. And they all kind of intertwine, and she sees people and recognizes them. That's kind of what starts all these flashbacks and reveries, is she will recognize somebody that she knew in the before times, one of the handmaids of Warren, who used to be Janine. She recognizes her, and so she's part of her past. So it's really interesting. It does get confusing, but it is super duper interesting. And it's one of those things, this book, I'm very interested in seeing how it gets made into a TV show, because when you have so many flashbacks like Handmaid does, I'm not sure how they're going to handle it, and I hope they handle it gracefully, because I feel like that is something very difficult to capture, and I know a big thing was a concern was narration is a big issue in television, and having a narrator actually speak over the action is kind of a big deal, and that's not always executed well. So I am really interested in seeing how that goes, because of how much narration and how much flashbacks there are. I don't know how they would handle that, but apparently they're handling it immensely well. People love it. But of course, I don't know how much they varied from the book. But what's the worst part of this book? Overall, liked this book. I don't know. I liked it. No, I did like it. I don't know if I'd read it again, but I enjoyed it. But the biggest issue is the ending. It's so bizarre. And my friend Elizabeth finished the book a few days before I did, and she was the ending's super weird. So I was okay. And it kind of blew my mind, because obviously I'm trying to be as spoiler-free as possible. That's the problem. But it very much is a cliffhanger, and not in a way where there would be a sequel. It just kind of drops off, and you just kind of go, it's over. You assume it's going to be just the end of the chapter, and you're going to get something else, and then it just stops. And it's kind of okay, what the fuck just happened? Did I miss something? Especially because I have a Kindle. So it was me going, is my Kindle acting up? Is it glitching? Like, is there more? And realizing there's not, because the next section, it's historical notes. And it's basically still a fiction when it says historical notes. It was a man giving a speech about basically what they said has been dubbed the Handmaid's Tale, talking about how it's a bunch of cassette tapes, basically. So Offred has been recording. This isn't, because that's the thing, throughout the whole thing, you understand that it's some kind of narration and that it's not just I'm narrating my life day to day, but you're not quite sure if it's a journal or what it is, because the way it flows, there's kind of an ambiguity. And if you read the historical notes, and I think it's super important to read them, you finally understand and go, oh, okay, so this was actually on cassette tape. But then it raises a bunch of other questions of, when did she get time? Where did she hide these? Like, it raises a lot more questions than answers, except in the sense of, like, how this story is being told. And apparently, because, like I said, Elizabeth read something else by her and also said the ending is super bizarre. And there's historical notes as well, so that seems to be Margaret Atwood's thing, is kind of, like, doing this, like, historical notes that are also fiction, but trying to, like, give some kind of context for her work, rather than it just being a story. It's kind of like there's context within, I guess, the universe that she's creating. Because that is the thing, and it very much heavily implies that, because it's the United States, that it's just the United States doing this. It doesn't seem like it is everyone doing this. Like, this is clearly, like, a strictly United States is making these rules and regulations, because there's even at one point where Offred is doing flashbacks and talking about at one point considering escaping over the border, like, to Canada, as one would think. So that's super interesting, too, the fact that it's, like, very much, like, centralized. And that is a question, I think, with dystopian literature that we ask. It's like Hunger Games. It's like, well, what the fuck happened to, Europe, because we're in North America? So I think that's kind of nice and, like, interesting going. Like, there's an acknowledgement of, this isn't the entire world. This is just this country doing this. But I did like it. I am super, super excited and interested to see the TV show. But that's kind of my thoughts without spoiling anything. It was good. Will I read it again? Probably not. Or if I'm just like, I don't know what else to read, I might read it again. But it's a pretty quick read. It's about 300 and I think 11 pages on my Kindle. Not too hard. Chapters are fairly short. But it's interesting. Like I said, it's very timely. And that's, I think, why it's really important to read as well. If you are a woman in the United States. Because it hits a little too close to home. Reading it was kind of like, and I don't want to get super duper political, but basically reading it, I felt like it could happen. And that's really scary. But yeah, so if you guys enjoyed this review, I would love it if you gave this a thumbs up. And subscribed if you'd like to see more and see how I feel about the TV show. And comment down below what you thought about Handmaid's Tale. Did you think it was a little fucky of an ending? How you kind of feel about it? Or if you've seen the TV show, what you think? Let me know. Let's talk. But I will see you guys in my next video. Bye-bye.